Alright, we are proud to introduce our new wedge called the HBB 56. Basically, it's called HBB for high bounce back. So you have bounce when you need it only. So if you are in the middle of the fairway, the leading edge where you're hitting the ball has absolutely no bounce at that moment. That means that when you will be hitting the ball, the club will want to keep on going down. The bounce of a regular wedge would prevent you of digging in. But this one, because we have no bounce on a wedge shot in the middle of fairway, the wedge keep on going down into the ground, and it helps you to compress the ball and generate more spin. But when you are in the bunker, you place the club in the front of your stand, and now the bounce is introduced. All right, let's go in detail of how this 56 degree HBB wedge works. As you could notice in the back of the wedge, we have our bounce. Normally the bounce is at the front or right under the leading edge of the blade. But we push it back so that when you are in the fairway and you're hitting the ball from the fairway, you normally place the ball in the middle of your stand. So the leading edge of the surface of where you're striking the ball is touching, in this case here, the table. So when you would be hitting the ball in the fairway, this leading edge, because we don't have a bounce at this moment, will keep the club going down into the ground. So that means you will be taking a good divot, but at the same time it will help you to compress and generate more spin on your ball. So the ball, when it lands on the green, it will stop. It will not get on the green and release to the back of the green. Well, the bounce on the wedge was introduced in the 1920s. And the reason for that is that they didn't want the club, the wedge, to dig into the sand. So because of us, we do not have a bounce at the front of the club. That means you're able to take a nice divot and dig into the ground in the fairway. But when you're in the bunker, you do not want that. You want to have bounce. So by placing the club more in the front of your stand, notice that now we have a bounce. So we have a bounce when we need it, and we don't have a bounce when we don't want it. So if I take a regular wedge and I put it on the table and I put it in the middle of my stand, you will notice that the leading edge here is not touching the table. So that means that when you're hitting this bounce from the middle of the fairway, this bounce prevents the club of digging in. So you will be able to hit it up in the air, but you don't generate a lot of spin. So that's why your ball lands on the green, release, and goes to the back of the green, especially when you have the pin in the front. And when you put it in the bunker, you put the club in the front of your stand, so here's your bounce. Well, if I take our HBB wedge and I put it in the bunker and I put it the same angle for the shaft, this is a left-handed club, this is a right-handed club, but it's easier to compare this way. You will notice that both clubs have the same amount of bounce. Both of them have 11 degrees of bounce. So when I put them flat on the table, or I mean like in the middle of fairway, the HBB is straight on the table and the conventional wedge is up in the air. So this is the biggest feature for us. We are presently the only one on the market that has a bounce in the back. So we have no bounce when we don't want to have a bounce, and we have bounce when we want it. That is something that I wish you give it a try. And we have it obviously in the left and right-handed. So thank you for your time.